All right, so somebody asked me when I was walking around the room, why do you have that orange dinosaur up there? We generally are kicking things off with a photo of Rex, our beloved sort of city mascot that's over at the corner of Beach and Peach. You've probably seen it. Everybody loves dinosaurs, right? But we don't want to get stuck in the distant past like our prehistoric pal here. We want to move our city forward, and that's really what this meeting and what this budget is all about. This is a budget town hall, and so I would love to stick to that topic if we can. Now I have a ton of staff here. Raise your hand if you are part of my administration. I got everybody here from all the departments and people that are here to help you tonight. So if you do have something specific, a specific need that may not be addressed here, make sure that you connect with somebody on my team. They're all up here in the front row. And make sure that you give them your information, and we'll try to deal with your particular issue if it's not something that we are discussing tonight. Also want to thank Matt Carlucci, Councilman Matt Carlucci, for being here. Matt, stand up. Matt has been a tremendous statesman his whole career, and he's been really sort of a guiding light for me. I know if it comes out of Matt's mouth, it's generally the right thing. At least I know it comes from a good place. So we're here tonight to talk about the budget. As I said, I call the budget a moral document because I believe that it is. It's a value statement. It says what we value in the city and who we want to be. So let me share with you our values behind this budget. I'll just take a few minutes to go through it, and then I'll let you all take over and ask anything that you'd like to, or give me advice if you'd like to. So we're going to start with our core function, which is public safety. More than half of every tax dollar in our city goes to police, fire, and rescue. As you can see, we allocate the rest to things like infrastructure, that is your street resurfacing, your sidewalks, etc., health, education, and so on. So how do we compare with other Florida cities? Well, as you can see, our public safety spending on a per capita basis is not out of line with that of other major Florida cities. We spend about $1,000 per person per year. However, as a total percentage of the overall budget, in Tampa and Orlando, they spend closer to 20%. In Miami, it's about 35%. In Jacksonville, for every $2 we spend in our general fund, $1 goes to public safety. Now, why is that? Well, we choose to invest in first responders because when a crisis hits, seconds matter, and we have a very large city. We have 840 square miles to cover in Jacksonville, and that is hundreds more than any other Florida city. So it's really important that we have enough police and fire and rescue to cover that entire city. And don't forget, we also this year struck a historic deal for police and fire to return them to a defined benefit, a pension. They came to us and they said, Mayor, a few years ago, we were talking to go into a 401k plan. It's cost us tremendously in terms of retention, in terms of recruiting. I know it will be expensive, but can we go to the FRS system? And we worked that out and also gave them a sizable raise because they had not really gotten a big increase in a while, and they need it. They deserve it. But that takes money, right? So I want you to take a look at this slide. This reaffirms something that I have said over and over again. And you've heard me say it, that we run a very lean budget in Jacksonville. You hear a lot of rhetoric, but the truth is we do. Our overall city budget per resident is among the lowest in the state. I'm not bragging about that, but that's the truth. And we're doing it with the lowest property tax rate of any major city in Florida by far. So despite being efficient and being the city with the lowest tax rate in Florida, some folks on the city council think that we should be cutting our millage rate even more. I will tell you that the other night, I don't know how many of you watched the city council meeting on Tuesday night, we sort of came to a stalemate, and at the end of that council meeting, they left the millage where it is to take up again on the 23rd, which is the final day. They had to pass the budget out. So we were there till about midnight, and they finally passed the budget out, but we'll revisit it on the 23rd. So this is far from being over. This proposed property tax cut will result in the average homeowner saving a little more than $1 per month. That's about 5 cents a day. But it takes more than $13 million out of our city services budget. So is it worth it? The cut eliminates almost $15 million annually for affordable housing, health programs, other services that people are telling us they want as well. I don't know if you remember, but in a recent survey, affordable housing was listed as the top concern of folks in Jacksonville. We are trying to address that and are addressing it, but that's the money that was taken out of the budget. The cuts we are fussing over are less than 1% of the overall budget of $2 billion. This $15 million cut this year may seem small to some, but it adds up to more than $76 million over the next 5 years. I want you to split that sink in. This is a compounding effect, right? Because if we take off an eighth of a mil and then every year that happens, right, as our city continues to grow. That's $76 million over the next 5 years. And they're talking about doing it again next year. You don't think there's going to be any more pressure in an election year to do that, do you? I'm sure there won't. But that's not belt tightening. It risks compromising public safety and essential services in the future, and it's just a gimmick. It does nothing to address the affordability, the crisis that is top of mind for most residents in our city. So we talk to people about what they're concerned about, and the big thing is we talked about affordable housing, but also the insurance crisis. How much homeowners insurance is going up? That's not being addressed in any sort of meaningful way right now. That's not us. That's the state of Florida, but the pressure we're getting from the state is about property taxes. Which, if you followed along, you know they have limited what we can take out. They've increased homestead exemptions and limited the increases to 3% a year. So even though the value of property is going way up, you can't pay more than 3% increase a year. The millage rate cut that about half of the council wants, and I do want to praise the group that held it steady the other night, because it was a bipartisan group, Democrats and Republicans, that came together to say this isn't good. We had the police and fire unions that stood up and said this will compromise public safety, it will compromise other quality of life issues that we have in the city of Florida, and so we got, for the moment, got that vote. But they're promising us they're going to come back and do it in the next couple of weeks. It translates to, as I said, about 5 cents a day if you're an average homeowner, $5 a day if you are a corporate landlord. And here's the reality. We're the fastest growing city in the state of Florida. You may like that, you may not like it, but it's true. It's happening. So it's really going to be how we manage growth that's going to make the difference for quality of life in our community. But hopefully you're seeing all the cranes in the air and the businesses choosing to expand in Jacksonville. That's a good thing. Momentum is on our side in terms of things like that, and we're handling it well so far. People from across the country and around the world are choosing our River City by the sea. And so we got to manage that growth well. So just look at this slide. It took Jacksonville 50 years to grow by 500,000 people from the time of our consolidation in '68 to present day. At the current rate of growth, the next 500,000 will be added in half that time. Between now and 2050, we're going to add another 500,000 people. Growth brings new jobs, businesses, and opportunities. However, the data indicates that without investment in our people and in the services and road resurfacing and in helping people to maintain a good quality of life, we will remain a tale of two cities, with parts of our city benefiting from this growth while others fall increasingly behind. Are we okay? That was just the speaker? Okay. That didn't sound good, did it? So look at how long our residents live. Now, as a city, our average life expectancy is 2 years lower than the state and national averages. But depending on where you live in Jacksonville, the gap can get pretty big. For example, if you live in the Loretto neighborhood, that's in Manfred, on average, you're going to live to be 87. If in your neighborhood right here, on average, you'll live to be, wait, is this right? Is this calibrated for this neighborhood? 73. In College Garden, the median life expectancy is just 62. That's over by UF Health. A 25-year gap from folks in Loretto, Manfred, and a 14-year gap from people in this neighborhood. So that's why I'm trying to change that. I came into office saying I want this to be a city that works for everybody, and we have tried very desperately to make that happen. We've taken the areas that have been disinvested and we moved them to the top of the capital improvement plan to where those streets and sidewalks are some of the ones that get handled first instead of last. So we don't want to just balance the layers. We want to add life to years and we want to add years to life and life to years. We also, in doing that, will supercharge our economy. Tonight, I'm going to highlight 3 investments the Finance Committee cut or reduced, and I'm asking for your help to fully restore them. Our budget is a budget for the people. Our proposals for affordable housing, addressing hunger, and access to health care will not solve every problem, but they are lifelines to those who receive assistance. They help thousands of people move from surviving to thriving. So just to help you understand, they're pilot programs. So they're not enormous. They're programs to show the private sector you should be investing in this, because this is going to have a great return on investment. For the rest of us, it means economic benefit that comes from keeping our citizens healthy and in their homes. So let's start with affordable housing and homelessness. Now, we've all heard about the cost of housing lately. When a family spends more than 30% of their income on housing-related costs, that family is considered cost-burdened. In 10 of our 14 council districts, the housing cost burden exceeds the national average. That should move us from debate to action. I proposed nearly $12 million for affordable housing and homelessness prevention. The Finance Committee cut $7.8 million, which includes all of our local funding for making housing more affordable. When I came into office, it was the very first time that our city had invested local dollars into affordable housing, because a lot of that money comes from the federal government. But the cities that are really making it happen, making a difference for their citizens, are investing local dollars in affordable housing. These initiatives were a continuation of the pilot programs that have proven track record for success. So here's what these projects could accomplish in year 1. We would build 60 additional affordable homes. We would help 85 working families buy their first home. We'd keep 80 families in their homes by diverting them from eviction. We would move hundreds more into transitional housing. And the idea is to keep at-risk families from falling into homelessness. Ultimately, this is about creating more homes for people to live in. When a family can afford a safe home, kids are healthier, work is steadier, neighborhoods are stronger. Doing all that is the right thing, but it's also an economic imperative. It helps the economy. These programs, which we hope the full council will restore, would provide an economic benefit of more than $30 million in just the first year. $30 million. A return on investment of over 300%. It's a pretty good ROI, right? If the moral reasons for keeping families housed do not persuade our council, I hope the economic reasons can help move the needle. Now, access to food. This is a quiet emergency in plain sight. Nearly 1 in 5 of our neighbors can't reliably afford groceries, or even, before you factor in inflation, reliably afford groceries. Hunger in our community is so widespread that 9 of 14 city council districts clock in above the national average. Hunger is also expensive. It adds thousands in healthcare costs per person per year. Every missed meal weakens a household and slows our local economy. These are all follow-on effects to our local economy. You understand that nothing exists in a vacuum. Everything affects down the chain. So we need to treat this like smart infrastructure. Invest $1 now to prevent an ER visit that is costly later. Does that make sense? That's why my budget included $2.21 million for Meals on Wheels to support 2,000 older adults. These are folks who are shut-ins. They're not people that can go to our senior centers, and it's generally the only meal that they have during the day. The Finance Committee cut and then restored some of this funding. We need the full funding restored because rising inflation will only exacerbate that problem of hunger. We received an amazing return on investment for the Meals on Wheels program, about $4.8 million in reduced healthcare spending each year. That's roughly a 100% return on investment. And it gives our homebound seniors dignity, which I don't think you can really place a price on. Let's be the city where no kids go hungry and no working family has to choose between groceries and the light bill, where seniors don't have to worry about their next meal. Finally, access to health care. If you tried to book a doctor's appointment, you know what the wait is. Our data confirms what families live through every day. Jacksonville has fewer primary care physicians and pediatricians than Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. Our number of pediatricians per young person is dismal. I'm just going to tell you, our numbers are bad. In 10 of 14 council districts, the number of primary care physicians per resident is worse than in our Florida peer cities. And primary care, which, by the way, is very inexpensive. What gets expensive is cancer treatment. When you get some exotic disease. Primary care is cheap, which is why we keep trying to connect people to those services, to the people that actually provide them. So when it's out of reach, people turn to the ER. Parents miss work and preventable conditions become chronic. The human cost is heavy and the economic cost is real. That's why I've called for an investment in our telehealth program through HealthLink Jax and primary care access via Jax Care Connect. And the interesting thing is, these are programs. Jax Care Connect was created by our Critical Quality of Life Committee in the council. They did study after study after study and determined these things were needed. That's what's being cut now. The investment is modest at $3.9 million. Again, the Finance Committee kept these programs and then only restored some of the funding. However, we need that funding fully restored as thousands of our neighbors are likely to be pushed out of Affordable Care Act plans and Medicaid because of the bill that Congress just passed. As we head into 2027, unless they change what they just passed, we'll drop almost 17 million people off of these plans, Medicare and Affordable Care Act. In Jacksonville, that translates because we never expanded Medicaid here, so it won't be as many for us on Medicaid. But it will be about 30 to 50,000 people. We don't know exactly the number yet. There's a lot of people that are now going to be going to the ER. We're trying to find a way to get health care. So that's why I called for that investment in the telehealth program, which just allows people to visit with the doctor over the TV, over the computer. These small investments really pay off in reduced emergency room visits and productivity gains that come from a healthy workforce. The investment from these two programs has a return of approximately 248%. Primary care is civic infrastructure. It keeps families healthy, businesses productive, and our safety net strong. So let me close with a simple truth. A responsible budget doesn't just fund police and fire. It opens doors to a set of house keys, a stocked pantry, a doctor's visit on time. These investments pay for themselves and then some. If you want to dive deeper into some of the data behind tonight's presentation, visit our new data tank at stateofjax.org. And then, incidentally, the Finance Committee also cut the funds for that, but we're figuring that out. We're trying to get them back, but we're figuring that out. Hiding data from our people is not a recipe for success. I mean, if you own a business, if any of you own a business, you know you need data, right? You need to know, is what I'm spending working? Is it working, or am I just throwing money down a hole? That's why you need data, and that's what we're trying to provide with this. My budget goals are simple and common sense. Safer streets, stronger neighborhoods, and a city where talent meets affordability. Jacksonville is on the move, and now we have to decide whether our momentum will lead to shared prosperity or only benefit a handful of well-connected individuals. So what I am hopeful of is that we will invest in our people and in our future as a city. And with that, I am ready to take your questions and your partnership. So if you would like to come to the microphone up here, you don't have to line up. Just come whenever you're ready to ask a question. Unless you're worried about the line gets big, you might want to get in line. But just come on up and ask a question, and we'll get started. And again, I've got all the experts here, so if I can't answer it, somebody can. Go ahead and pick that up, because I think you're too tall for that thing. I'm gonna come down here so I'm not standing all over you.
All right. I'm Mike McGill. I live in Country Creek.
Hang on, because I can't hear you. I'm gonna give you this one if that doesn't work. Is that not on?
All right. I'm Mike McGill. I live in Country Creek. My biggest issue is, since we have all this, we got all this extra tax base coming into our filters now, why do we not have a city services that? Because I drive down Country Creek every day. There's two parts of Country Creek Boulevard goes over the creek. The creek hasn't been cleaned up one time in 14 years I've witnessed. Parts of the sidewalks where the creek is overgrown with trees and bushes and everything, people can't even walk down it. Some of the neighbors every once in a while get out there and trim it, but the city maintenance never does anything. Cannon Boulevard from Normandy to Crystal Springs Road is full of potholes. It's been patched a dozen times, but it's never been fixed, and it actually needs to be widened because of all the development around here. It needs at least a turn lane put down the middle of it, you know, and
Well, I know this. I know there's grades that Nina is right next to our public works director, who I'm sure can talk to you in more depth about this. But there are grades that put your street on a list of when it gets taken care of. But the initial answer to your question is what I said initially. We have 840 square miles, and so when you have more people, there's more people who need to serve.
well, here's the thing. I've lived here for 35 years. And 35 years, you know, in the last 35 years, it's been the last 10 years, 10, 12 years that I've seen Jacksonville is gone downhill as far as the way the city looks, the way the city services have been acting, taking care of people and stuff. The bus system's terrible. I got a neighbor next door that doesn't have a car. His wife left him, she left him without a car. This guy, he's 70-some years old, he has to take the bus to go to his doctors and to do anything. And it takes him 4 hours each way on the bus just to get somewhere because of all the transfers and stuff he has to do. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I know that because he's involved with our program at the school.
He's a good guy. It's a challenge, but we do have work to do on transportation for sure.
A lot. And then it looks like our development around here is out of control. I just went out to McLean a little while ago, and going down past 301 from 228, it's just all this rezoning, and it looks like they're clearing miles of land. And then everywhere twice you turn, they're putting up development and development and development. But we're not doing infrastructure to handle it. We're not putting in roads and sewers and stuff to handle that stuff, and that's always been a problem with this city government.
I agree.
They have never, ever, the city council is the biggest problem with this, that they never do anything to get on the zoning or the planning commission to do it correctly.
We are working. I don't know if anybody's here from planning. Okay, we're working on a comprehensive. We are working on a comprehensive rezoning plan right now. Which we have enlisted our partners and the independent authorities as well, that really should help some of this in terms of that piece. And I can tell you in terms of my priorities, in terms of what we focused on, is we've gone to, as I said, we've gone to the areas that have been disinvested. But the reason, y'all always talk about downtown, I don't know how many of you are fans of downtown, but the reason it's important for downtown to go is because that's going to bring in a whole lot of revenue for our city. And we don't want to raise taxes, so we don't want to raise taxes. So we want that revenue to come in from other people that are moving downtown. And if we can redo our zoning where we have people that are building and living in places that make more sense, then we'll have less of those problems. But you're right, there needs to be a comprehensive plan that forces that infrastructure to go in before all those developments to go in. I agree with that, and that's something we're working with the development community on. I was trying to answer you as you went. So.
Okay. So I don't know who does building inspections anymore, but when I did an addition on my house back in the 90s, it was like a major ordeal. Now I see construction going up. There's never a building inspector out there. And I've personally gone and looked at some of these homes that are going up. I would not even want to walk inside one of them, much less live in one. So whoever the developers are, whoever they got in their pocket around here needs to be straightened out, because I'm telling you, these houses are flood that they're building. And zero lot lines. What is with this? Why do you guys have zero lot lines? You have no room between houses. You can reach out the windows and shake hands. You know, that's ridiculous. No neighborhood should be like that. But not all these new neighborhoods going up are exactly like And this is a terrible thing. It
I
doesn't give people any space.
can tell you that since I have been in office, I have tried to put more people on that planning commission. And if you were at the last meeting, you would have seen some of them that are addressing some of these things you're talking about. It's a process, and I'm not in it by myself, but I'm trying to get people appointed to that commission that will not rubber stamp things like that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike, would you like to?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, good evening. I'm Barbara Govan, and I want to say that I support your budget, and I'm strongly opposed to any reductions in it. I'm glad to say that my council member supports the budget as well. But I'm here to mention one other thing that is in that budget that somehow or other doesn't always get the attention of people, not that what you've identified isn't extremely important, and that's our public library. You've been a real champion of reading. Long term, if we don't educate our young people, our city will not have a future. And our public library has suffered cuts and somehow always been at the end of the line, as you probably realize I know quite a lot about. And I'm just really proud of you for, as I understand it, putting more money into the library materials budget this coming year. And that if the budget cut happens, that amount is going to be reduced by half. And we just can't countenance that. There's no point having a public library if there are not books and e-books and music and materials and story time and qualified staff to help you and wonderful, well-maintained buildings if we want our children to be educated and the rest of us to be educated. So I thank you for your budget. And don't forget the public library, which is such an important
I could not agree with you more. I'm not sure there's been a time that our public libraries have been more important. And our literacy numbers are starting to come up nicely. So we're very pleased with the partnership with the library, and we're pleased that program seems to be working. But you're right, needs investment. Yes, sir.
Mayor,
Speak right into the mic,
John
sir.
Seibel. I'm John Seibel, born and raised here. Be 74 in a couple of months, and I know everything from inside and out what's happened in the city for years. Downtown's been lost for years. Every administration has spent billions. And when you take the town center and you put it downtown, you get people back. When all the stores left downtown, everybody left downtown. I know that part of that, but I can tell you, as a resident growing up, and I've lived in New York for about 3 months, and I can tell you, nobody wants another New York, another Chicago, another Miami. People moved out. This is just our southern style. I mean, you moved out yourself.
We don't want it to be any of those places, but we do want a nice riverfront park system, and we want places for people to be.
Okay, we have more parks and recreation than any other city in the United States.
Well, theoretically, we do.
Okay, but they're not safe. We spend, and every time we spend, that one we're doing downtown now, it's a park, but the revenue basis that we lost as a city, that's money that's got to be made up somewhere. And the problem is we can't maintain what we have, much less keep building and adding on. And that includes the walkway throughout Jacksonville, whatever. I gave up my corporate jet, my company paid car. I've been managed billionaires, billion-dollar companies. And I don't have a suit and tie on because I said when I retired I would not put another one. So I apologize. So, you know, And I know both of you, since you ever came into existence in Jacksonville, you just don't know me. But a lot of things. We can't believe the media anymore. You don't know what's what. They keep going on now, the ads about the millage rate, and we're not going to have paving for roads and highways and potholes. That's not true. Your gas tax, the money in that gas tax is supposed to be for everybody spending, running up and down these roads is supposed to maintain them, including the diesel trucks, which pay the higher tax, because I was a fleet manager too. So I know all of it. Like I said, I was an engineer. I was responsible for managing multi-million-dollar projects. Our projects today, just like our stadium, by the time it's built, will cost almost double. Mark my word on it.
Well, the Jaguars take any cost over.
No, that ain't all Jaguars. This is part of the citizens too, but the problem with our system is when you go out for bid, you got to be ready to pull the trigger, and that trigger is a lot number, and you hold those construction people feet to the fire. That was my job. I know what it takes, and if you don't pull that trigger immediately, you get cost overruns added on the whole 9 yards. Don't do it. We bid something, Chafee Road right now is one.
Okay.
Money's been put out, it's been years and years and years. I guarantee you by the time they do it, it's going to cost a lot more. And that's only natural because inflation, all the things. But you've got to pull it, you've got to hold those people accountable to a budget. That's where we lose money.
Well, listen, do you have a question in there someplace, or?
I've got a few things that are not really questions. I'm stating
Because I
some
would
of the
like
things
to answer some of the things.
for you. Somewhere in this administration, I'm not pointing you, I voted Democrat, I voted Republican, I do what's best for the people here. And somebody has got to stop robbing Peter to pay Paul. What you do, you know, you're paying for what other administrations have done. What you do, other administrations. And the plans and the things that are put in the future are going to be nowhere because somebody's going to change it. We put all our money in the general fund and we pull that money. We have nothing dedicated. And examples of that is I've been here through the bridges and the tolls. So where are
I'm
we
a
at?
generation native too.
Where are we at?
I've been here for a long, long time myself. So I've been here since my family's been here for 5 generations. So I've lived through all those things. And one of the reasons I ran for this office, because I was tired of seeing this city not reach its full potential.
And I agree with a lot of things you do. That's a big money for a small city with big city ideas. Forever.
We've gotten in our own way, sir, is what's happened. We've gotten in our own way.
You got it. So the somehow in there, somebody has got to set this stuff back and stop borrowing money against the future, taking money from firemen's, policemen's pensions, all those things, stopping it while you pay for something else, and then that money gets behind, and some administration got to make it up. Same with our Social Security, all the things. This is
Well,
government.
I'm just going to tell you that the rating agencies think we've done an excellent job there because we have a AA+ rating for how we've handled our finances in the city. So I'll just tell you, we are the #1 job market right now. And so there is no reason why Jacksonville, I cannot be as pessimistic as you are about the future of downtown. We got 7 cranes in the air right now. We're going to have many more by the time that I get finished with this first term. We've got housing going up all over the place. We've got our riverfront parks and a conservancy to raise money to fund them, to make sure that there's programming and make sure that development happens and they're all on schedule. I got Melissa Ross here, who's in charge of a chop list that keeps those people on target and on time. And I can tell you right now that the stadium, at least as we speak today, and there are good ways into it, is on budget. And anything that goes over that line, the Jaguars have to pay for, not us. That's ironclad. There's a $26 billion return on that investment. So that is going to be a great investment for downtown.
Okay. One other question, one other thing, not a question, statement. Your housing that's coming into Jacksonville is not for sale. It is for lease. These housing developments, these big corporations are putting in all these developments. The basic right and everybody wants from the time they're born is to be able to own their own place and someday be able to say, this is mine, I paid for it.
I agree.
With these people coming in and all they are is lease, they'll never own anything, which means they never add value that can be passed on to their family.
That's what we're trying to do with the affordable housing money. We're trying to make sure that they're able to buy something. That's what we're trying to do. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Rosita Collins, and I've been in Jacksonville for 39 years. Moved here with the railroad, and I've had 3 careers that Jacksonville's been very good to me and my family. My daughter's a nurse up at UNL, or used to be Shands, and my son's a crane operator here in town. And I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. 11 years ago, after living in Mandarin, living on 27 years out by the beaches, or lodges, I guess you'd say, intercoastal, I decided to simplify my life and move to the Westside. And I found wonderful property. It's on a dead-end street. It is a mobile home. My lot was on the lot across the street, which is almost 2 acres, and my neighbor's been there 60 years. It's a great street. Everybody looks at each other and everything. But we have ditches. I have tried for 11 years to get the ditches cleaned up on my street. I have been through Alvin Brown when he was, and then Curry. I have had the head of St. John's Water Management out there. And they all tell me that I have a creek behind my house. They tell me that creek does not exist. I have a drainage ditch on the right-hand side that is full of dirt and debris and trash that comes in from a neighboring mobile home park. I walk my dogs twice a day up and down the street. The streets are filthy. I mean, as far as the drainage ditches, one time in 11 years, I got one of the neighbors to bring an excavator and clean them out. When I talked to the city about it, they say, you live on the west side, get over it.
I know that's why if somebody might have said that on the name.
That's what they told me. They said, you live in an area that is not what we consider affluent, and so just get over it.
Well, that should never, ever, ever happen to you.
This is God's truth.
When is the last time you called? When is the last time you called?
I call about once a month.
What do you do, call 630 City, or what do you do?
After getting all this information, I've got a whole file on it at home, just brought it, but I didn't because that's past history. Let's go forward. All I'm asking for is the ditches to be cleaned up, maybe some pots put in, like culverts. And I have begged, I have went to offices of city council, everything, and asked that one little street that's less than a mile long.
Matt's going to help you. Matt's going to get all your information, and we're going to figure out how to get you some help.
Okay, but I did go at my own expense and clean out the creek behind my house. I rented an excavator from a pretty good.
Oh my goodness!
Cleaned it up.
Heavy machinery?
And then somebody came by and said, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." And I said, "Well, why not? The city says that the creek doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, why can I not clean it up?" But a big concern, I have been flooded. back when Irma came through. My whole street was flooded. As a matter of fact, one of my neighbors swam the street to rescue my cat, which was pretty amazing. But again, I love Broadview. I love the location. It's given me financial security because it was in an area where I could buy my house and live comfortably. And all I'm asking for is the ditches to be cleaned up and to be fixed.
Supposed to be right back there. Okay.
Okay, thank you, and thank you so much for doing this tonight. I have tried, I have knocked on doors.
That's why
I
we're
wrote
here.
to the governors, the senators, everybody.
That's why we're here.
On the street.
These are all things we need to know about, so thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Here you go, sir.
Good evening, John.
This is back on.
You didn't get it up last night, John?
Well, you know,
Or
I was
2 nights,
there.
what, 2 nights ago, whatever it was?
You're right. No, I was there.
John is at every single city council meeting. For how many years, John, have you been at every single city council meeting?
Well, it started with the Fuller Warren Bridge when Matt was council president. It goes back a ways. But
John is a glutton for punishment. That's all I can tell you. Okay, go right ahead.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. You all want to get your phones out and just get some pictures because we're making a movie. I'm wearing my Marissa Bodie shirt.
Okay.
And, you know, that's wicked. And the reason, she was the first, cast member, in a wheelchair. And so, it's worldwide, when it comes to disability issues. But yes, I was there, and here's the agenda. And, this is Jacksonville history. And Mayor, I hope you sign this. I would love your autograph on this. And I'll tell you why. 2025-0504. It's an ordinance establishing the city's 25 to 26 fiscal year consolidated government budget, providing a table of contents. So now within the contents, right here, we have provide for state and federal grant programs. That's our fund. That's the Florida Inland Navigation District. And that's right here. And that's 12 counties. This is our ad valorem property tax money. And it's millions and millions of dollars year after year after year. And so this year, and I've got to give it to Daryl Joseph in the Parks Department, Jill Lenz, Brian Burke, they're superstars.
Yes, they are.
And so anyway, because we're on the list, and I want to, for the record, read a resolution. And this is what I'm, right here. I am now seeking an executive branch resolution, recognizing UNI's efforts in advancing the FIND, that's the Florida Inland Navigation District, Potential Land Acquisition Project 158833-0000, that's Boylan. 134059-0000, that's a Maryland. And 137044-0000, that's Carrickville. That would benefit all the citizens of Duval County, Jackson. And let me just share with all of you the potential beneficiaries when this happens. You got DIA, that's Scott Wilson, Raul Arias, he's the rep. JTA, Nat Ford, you got Cheryl Riddick. Council on Elder Affairs, Donnie Olden, Robin Lang, JEA, River Accord, Ricky Cady, Shay Hill, Renee Good. You got your CPAC, Street Commission, Christopher Miller, Dr. Salem, Raul Arias. Fine, Pat Calloway is our representative. You've got the Northeast Florida Regional Council, Beth Payne, Lane Brown, and the Northeast
Regional Council was also defunded in this budget.
Well, you know what? It's going to be coming back. I was at some of those meetings. But that's 7 counties, now that you brought it up. And, so again, this is huge. Duval County Public Schools, Cindy Pearson. Her idea, field trip park. You've got 7 school board districts. Again, it's a quality of life issue. MDC, the Mayor's Disability Council, Kara Tucker, Ray Pringle. Kids Hope Alliance, Dr. Sarah Lynn Grass, Boys and Girls Club. Councilman Carrico, JSEP, Gregory Grant, Todd Rubin, Todd Red Carpet Rubin, Ed Rambo Randolph. I mean, it's the Office of Economic Development. You also have Fish and Wildlife Department, FDEP, St. Johns River Water Management District, Doug Conkey. And so anyway, these are the beneficiaries when the city has control of the property. And so the ability now to make a movie, we're taking the show on the road, and it's happening. So anyway, this resolution, there's no money. And imagine, and let me just finish by saying this. At that Tuesday's meeting, 2025-0522, that's the building fund department. 18 vehicle chargers, Ford. Yeah. There's 101 Ford dealerships in the state of Florida. I'll tell you, you're going to have Ford. Mayor Deegan Park on Plattsburgh Creek, or, I mean, it's happened. And anyway, I just hope that you will sign that.
Well, come see me in my office, John, and you better put my face on one of those t-shirts. That's all.
You're right. No,
I've been
no,
telling you
Melissa
that.
got
I've
you.
been
No,
telling you that for 2
Melissa's
years.
on
I'm
you.
insulted that Melissa has her face on the shirt.
No, you're on the list now. We'll be a fast pass, but you're on
Thank you,
there.
John. Thank you, I appreciate it. We'll talk.
Hello, my name is Sandra McCarty, and I don't want to complain. I know I wrote to you. I had Officer Brock out at my house. I've been doing this since 2015, and really nothing has been done back in my house. So there's a field behind Checkmate Lane. So between my fence, my back fence, and about 5 to 6 feet, he has what used to be sheds. I don't know if they're living in them now or not. They did for a while. But they're overgrown, the weeds and the grass, and there's gallons of buckets there, 5-gallon buckets, 10 gallon, I don't know what's in them, they're heavy. They're all buried under, so we can't get somebody to help me. It's not on my property, it's not like I can jump over the fence and start mowing, which I would like to.
Is the property abandoned?
Well, in 2015, when I had the man come out, the officer come out, they didn't even know it existed. So I had him come out in 2018 to try to get help again. They really can't get him on the property. Now, this man is not a real nice man, I'll tell you that, he's a big man. So you can't send some little cop that's going to not be able to do anything. And, I tried to talk to him, and he waved me away. Now, I did report him for goats on the property in 2016. Because they came into my yard, they broke through my fence, and they jumped all over my frontage. So I didn't say anything, I just tried to fight for help. So in Checkmate Lane, 20 houses up, all the people 20 houses up have this same problem. And these are the best pictures that I could take. And I emailed you because Brock is I can't do anything about it.
So,
Where is Brock? Is he here today?
is there a violation for him having this?
I have no idea. They say they cited him, and that when you look up the front, Brock said, I looked up the front, there's a nice sidewalk, it's all clear, it's great. You can go on Google Earth, and you can see how bad it is, all the way up. And here's pictures from mine that I'd like to drop off. I got mine.
I'm just trying to figure out who to connect you with. Okay, Thomas Waters from our neighborhoods department will talk with you. It sounds like a very individual problem. We need to try to figure out
All
what
the
we
way
can
up Checkmate Lane, so I'm trying to help for all of us. Well, most of us are seniors, so it's not like we're going to get them a 7-foot. Some of the weeds are 50 to 70 feet high, so we're not going to be able to cut that overhang down. They've ruined every full path with overhang. We need some help in there, just getting this guy to help us clean up.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will. Thanks,
Thomas, thank you. Appreciate you coming. Go meet Thomas in the back if you would.
I want that.
Hi, my name is Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
I do live in the neighborhood. I have children that went to this high school. And first, I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question about the bus stop benches. We have none. We have elderly that live in the neighborhood and have to stand out there for walkers or grab a buggy from the grocery store that stays out there all the time with the mail for it. So in the budget, I would like to ask that we replace those for our citizens.
They're just gone?
They're gone. The city
How many were there?
there was one at each bus stop.
Okay.
There's
Is that JTA? Who is that? Is that JTA? Okay.
there's a concrete slab there, film and everything. But their benches are gone, they came and took them away.
Okay,
So-
we need to get in touch with somebody from JTA. We need to start having a representative from there to be at these meetings, because we do have some transportation questions. Okay.
Okay, and then my next question is that, because I do own my home and I do try to pay attention to my taxes and stuff like that and what it's going to, I never really understood what the millage rate was about until this year. And I think a lot of people, especially the younger generation, doesn't understand what that is. So I think if maybe we could put out something to help explain it better, it may be a more driving force to help not.
That's a great point. I think that one of the reasons that we like to have these meetings so regularly, we do them every few months, is because I think educating people about what actually is going on and how their money's being spent and why it's being spent is very important. But that is a really good point, just in terms of some basic education as far as millage. I appreciate that. That's a good idea.
And my next thing is, what can we do now to help enforce that they don't try to lower it?
Well, you can show up and use your voice at the city council meeting on the 23rd. That is the final night of the budget. They are telling us they are going to go in and do what they can to lower that millage rate. And frankly, I haven't had one of these meetings yet. This is my third town hall meeting. I haven't had one person that's gotten up to a microphone and said, I really want that dollar back, please, lower that millage rate and make it so that the services are less in this city. But that's the thing that's confounding to me, is that we have been so responsible with not being like so many of our sister cities and keeping that millage rate low so people's cost of living can be low. But at the end of the day, when you have such a large city and you have such a growing city, you have to be able to provide those services. And I heard somebody say, I've been watching this happen for 10 years. Yeah, because we've been disinvesting in our city for so long. That's the problem. And so I think the reason that I want to come out here and explain to people why we need it is because, of course, you poll, and any sort of tax cut sounds good, but when you explain to people that your average person's going to get $1.50, I mean, that can't even buy you a hamburger. So it is a gimmick. It polls well, and so they like that, and they want to be able to say the mayor didn't want to lower your taxes. I get it, but you got to know the truth. And the truth is, if we don't invest in our city, then all these problems you're talking about are just going to get worse and worse and worse. We've got to invest in our city, and the only way to do that, they were talking for a while, and the governor's still talking about the idea of eliminating property taxes altogether. That pays for all of our police and fire. All of them.
Yeah, my question with that was, what are they going to replace it?
Well, what he said was, we'll replace it with we'll increase the sales tax by a bunch. Well, then that would make us very dependent on the economy. We have a recession, you don't sell a lot, right? So how are you going to fund your city? You have to have a funding source that's reliable. And so, I think, unfortunately, we are living in such a time now where people want this instant gratification on whatever the next politician is going to give them. And these people want to go from one office to the next office to the next office, and they're really looking for, what can I do that's going to give me a quick fix, a quick hit. I'm not saying these people don't love their city or their state. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying their idea is, whatever I'm doing has to have immediate benefit, or people aren't going to give me credit for it.
They lose interest.
I am absolutely trying to explain to people why we need to plant trees under which we may never rest in their shade. We have to do that for our kids. Our kids aren't going to have a good city, a good quality of life, a good education, a good job, a good all that, if we continue this process of disinvesting in our city. And the folks who have been the most critical of all this, and we've got to put money back in the hands of our 50%, as I said, of our city is renters. They're not getting anything from this. So we have to be honest with people about what's going on. So what I would say to you is, right, who's your city council person? Okay. Well, first of all, who's the city council person? Is this Randy? Okay. Randy's fabulous. He's 5 at large. Okay. Randy's wonderful. But I would say talk to Randy. I would say talk to Randy. I would say talk to Donna Clark Murray, also a wonderful city council person. Just make sure, but the big thing is, I talk to all of them. I send them all a letter, all an email or all a letter. I don't want my taxes lowered, whatever your feeling is. I want you to invest that in our city. Let them know how you feel. Tell them about your issues. They need to know, because it's really easy to get into city government or any government situation and sort of feel like you're in this little insulated bubble where you're really not dealing with everyday people, which is why it's also real important to be out here and hear these stories. That's why my wonderful team, who's been working all day long, is out here at 7 o'clock at night, because they really want to be helpful. And so we've had these meetings and we've connected people with whoever in the department is here to help. And we've been able to solve some problems individually. But as a city, if we're going to do that, you guys have got to speak out. You've got to put pressure on these folks to do what you want them to do, and you got to vote.
Yeah, so in order to go to the next city council meeting, what do I need to do?
You go to
Do I need to sign up for it?
No. It'll be they're going to start it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because it's going to be a long meeting, so you may not be able to be there at the start. I don't know. They usually start at 5, but this one's going to start at 3. Am I right about that? Yes. You sign a little blue card that has your name on it and what you want to talk about. And then they'll call you up to the microphone. They're going to give you a little tiny bit of time to say what you want to say. I think 3 minutes to say what you want to say. Which is another reason people like to come to my meetings, so that I'll give you a little longer to talk. But they let you say what you want to say, and you're on the record. So that is that piece. So what's our address at City Hall? 117 West Duval. It's downtown. So I would say if you can come, please do. And just make your voice heard. Let them know. That's the biggie.
Thank you.
You bet.
Is that behind me?
Hi there. My name is Karen Steele. I live here in the Westside, not this district. I
can't believe not one person has said Westside, Best Side yet.
No.
When I was in high school, the Westsiders, whenever you came anywhere, that's always they come from the Westside, Best Side.
So my council person is voting not for, he is voting in favor of your budget, not and against the millage decrease. However, I went to the council meeting for the first time ever.
On Tuesday?
On Tuesday. I did not stay the whole time. I honestly, like the last person, I was doing some Googling about millage rates and things like trying to understand it while I was there. So, one of the things that struck me is that even the council people were confused, as to the process and what they were voting for. Somebody voted for something they didn't vote for, and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm confused and they're confused, and this is a really confusing situation.
Well, there are a lot of shenanigans that go on at council meetings. Because sometimes they sort of, they want to move things through quickly, and they want to make sure that what they want is what they want, and so they try to, sort of just make it really interesting. That council meeting, the main topic of the night wasn't supposed to come up till about 7.
Okay.
And they moved it right to the very top of the queue. Changed the order, don't know why. But that's why everybody was confused.
Yeah, and when I was, as a first-time person there, literally, I think 98% of the people who stood up and talked were supporting your budget and not supporting the cut in the millage. And it was just very, going on the deaf ears with the people who are.
Gotta keep the pressure up though.
Yeah.
That's the fun meeting next week.
Where where is our effort best spent? Is it, as you just said, send a letter to every council person, or is there particular council people we should be focused on?
Well, you saw the folks that voted the way they voted. I would say focus on the ones that aren't voting the way you want them to.
Are they supposed to be responsive even though we're not in their district?
They are.
Okay.
But you also have 5 at-large council people that are supposed to be responsive to the entire city, including and then your district council person. So you should contact at least all those people. But look, I can't promise you they're going to listen, but it's going to be harder for them. And I think honestly, at the end of that meeting, I said, you guys lined up all these people. We didn't line up anybody.
No, it seemed very organic.
It was a very grassroots organic thing. People really wanted to come out and speak about it because people in the city, to your point, are tired of watching this happen for decades. They're tired of decades of watching things crumble. And they want to see their tax dollars being used for the right reasons, right? So it's really important. I can't promise you it will be successful, but I can tell you the more of you that show up, the harder it will be for them to. And you can, and you heard a lot of the folks that were there that said, "You're not listening to us,"
No, and I maybe in a minority in the city, but I would take an increase if they would if they would actually work on some of the things that people really care about on the west side and the northwest of septic systems.
Yeah.
It's drainage, it's things like that, and now those are not things we can fix.
Well, but as I said, I do want you to know that we have taken those areas that have seen the least investment over the last decades, and we have moved them all to the top of the capital improvement plan list. So instead of what generally happens, and somebody said it earlier, that's from she probably left, that's from the west side, they don't pay any attention to me. We're not doing things that way. The whole purpose of my running for this office was to create a city where everybody has an opportunity to thrive, where it works in your neighborhood, just like it works in San Marco or works in, at the beaches. It's real important because not only is it the right thing, but it truly lifts our economy. I mean, that's what people need to understand. A rising tide really does lift all boats. You've heard the old phrase, when we all do better, right? And that's the truth. So we just got to make sure that we are investing in the areas that have been left, to hang for a long time. That's what we're doing. Just so you know. Thank you. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Quick question.
What's your name?
Chuck Fires.
Chuck, thank you for coming.
No, my pleasure. Why has I-10 taken so long to complete when I-95, that stretch from downtown to Emerson, has been making fantastic progress?
So,
and if they worked that hard on I-10, it would have been done 2 years ago.
You know how the city takes a long time to do everything? Double that when it comes to the state.
Federal government.
Or federal government, yeah. I don't know. Lena, do you know? I don't know. I don't know why it's taking so long.
It is DOT, as you mentioned. So
But I can tell you this, half of the complaints that we get about, Al works on blight for us. And we have hugely increased our mowing budget. We've increased our blight budget. In fact, we put $1 million extra to cover blight this year into the budget because Al went around and showed us just how bad the blight problem was. And we said, we got to invest in dollars. Every year, that budget has been less and less over the last decade. So we're like, we got to go back and invest in blight again. It's important. We can't do anything about the areas that are supposed, we can't touch the areas that are owned by the state, but they all touch our areas. So half the complaints we get are because DOT hasn't handled something, and obviously they got a much bigger territory than we have. So that's what happens that's why I said, sometimes, you see a politician get up and brag that we're so efficient, but is it really efficient to let things fall apart and save a buck? I don't know. I don't think it necessarily always is. And so I think, we're trying to, along with Al, create a better situation for that. But I hear you. I don't know why I-10 is taking so long. Now, I asked that the other day, but I do not know.
So a second comment, this gentleman here earlier mentioned Chafee Road. from Beaver Street back to where it changes to Pritchard, when the Pritchard extension
Yeah.
was done, so that all those FedEx and UPS trucks could come down the
Yeah.
road that is not built to support the weight, and you have the ruts in the road on both sides, and eventually you'll have one of those big 18-wheelers fall over from hitting those ruts and being top heavy. You can't get, during the certain parts of the day, from going south on Chafee to get over to I-10. You can't get through the Beaver light because there's no way to turn left. It's a 2-lane road. I've counted a maximum of 61 vehicles backed up. So that's almost all the way back up to Old Plain, because 1 or 2 might need to make a left-hand turn that just backs up the whole group. And half of those are UPS and FedEx trucks and 18-wheelers, and that road needs to be widened, or at least some part down there where Beaver is at the light, so there is at least 2 or 3 vehicles for a left-hand turn to get onto Beaver, so that the flow can move.
Okay. Okay, Nina knows about this and she will help you. Thank you. Thanks, Nina. Nina is our Public Works Director and does an amazing job. Good evening.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Yes, the 295 and Collins Road. The traffic is backed up between hours, I would say, from 4 to 6. I go that way because I work, I go home, I have to take that route. And the traffic is backed up. There's going to be a bad accident from cars exiting to get off on Collins Road if they're going 295 now, 295 north, and cars that are going trying to get up on 295 north. At that Collins Road.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Do you know, has anything been done about that? Is going to be done? Because and all that, you know, I don't know how they would do it, but between hours of 4 and 6, the length of the light needs to change.
Yeah, that's a DOT issue also, but I'll have to find out about what the plans are for there. That is a DOT.
Right. But it's been going on a while, and I was told by, I guess that is part of Duval County.
It is.
Right.
But it's part that is controlled by the state.
Oh, okay. Well, it's bad, and I think it's going to be an accident. If
Can somebody write that down so that we have that for our next meeting with FDOT? Okay.
I think the length of the light needs to change for a couple of hours to keep traffic from getting backed up like this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you. Come on up. Good evening.
My name's Brian.
Hey, Brian.
I just came, this is the first time.
Would you put the mic close to your mouth so I can hear you? Thank you so much.
I was just wanting to know, like, how I can help with the budget. You know, and I think that by going to this town, the city hall meeting is the thing to do. And I'm supposed to write to these people that want to make these cuts.
Yes. I think we can get you that information. I mean, I think what is the easiest way for them to find all the information in terms of, can we?
Go to CSA, city council members. Pull up the email.
If you Google COJ City Council members, that'll bring up everybody's name and email.
And I just write to each
You can
one.
write to each one of them, and then if you want to show up at the council meeting on the 23rd, that's right there at City Hall. You call Tracy, she'll hook you up. Thank you so much. Good evening again.
My question about education, is that part of this?
What?
Including your education budget?
Are you talking about the schools?
Yeah.
No, that's not, that is handled by the state.
So that's not what they told us at we had a meeting in double different meetings about schools merging, that the city had to control it.
Well, I shouldn't say just the state. The school board is an independently elected body. The superintendent is chosen by that body, but they work, it's a state and local partnership. But the Duval County School Board acts independently of the city, of my purview. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense? I don't have, let's put this, I have no authority over Duval County schools, nor do I have any authority over whether they merge schools. Is that an issue that you're upset
No, I'm
about?
just talking about just how it got this bad, and now it just seems like it's a slow reaction to try to fix it.
Fix?
The issue that you have with the schools of having no funding.
Yeah, agreed. That comes from a long time, and this is, I explained this to people when everybody became up in arms when they started putting out the lists of the schools that were going to close. Because what you need to understand is, we have, I think what we said was 20,000 less students in Duval County Public Schools, even though our city is growing like a weed, 17,000 people a year. Those students have filtered out into private charter schools or Duval County charter schools. The funding is being spread around to a bunch of different sources now. And the state decided now to subsidize private school education. So all that money is being stretched and stretched and stretched, and not more money put in. In fact, less money. Well, not less actually, but less when you talk about how it's all being stretched. Does that make sense? So there is less being invested in our public schools by a lot. So whether you agree or don't agree with the way that that's all being done, that you like all that. But just know they're not putting more money into that. What's that?
So how do we get to those meetings?
Well,
That's the meetings
the Duval County School Board meetings, what night are the school meetings? Tuesday? Thursday night? Yeah, so the Duval County School Board meetings are on Tuesday nights. You need to find out who your school board representative is. Tracy will help you with that too. Tracy, you're sitting in a good spot. Contact your school board representatives, but also show up at those meetings. But also find out who your state rep is. And make sure they understand that you are not happy with schools being.
It's the same thing with them getting away from the free lunch.
Yeah.
Like luckily the school that our kids go to still has it, but there's other schools that don't, and you show multiple things that we're behind on everything, so why take it away from the kid when that could be the kids only?
Sir, I could not agree with you more on all of that. That's just not a function of the city of Jacksonville proper. It's the function of the Duval County School Board and of the state legislature, and at least until this year, I don't know what the status is right now of the federal government. So I'm not sure what the federal government role is in schools at the moment. I know they were talking about dismantling the Department of Education, but I have no idea what's happening with that.
Do you have any say-so in the school?
I do not.
I think that needs to be made public.
It happens at every single town hall meeting that people, for instance, I'm independently elected as the mayor of Jacksonville. The school board members are independently elected. They pick the school superintendent. The sheriff in our consolidated government is independently elected, so I don't have a say over anything besides deciding what I'm going to put into the budget line item for police and that contract. But that's me and the council decide that, and the sheriff has the opportunity to determine everything about how he runs his
So my question
department.
too is to go back to city council with the budget stuff. What I was understanding is your education budget is based off your property taxes.
That's right,
So then
but
why-
that's a state formula though.
Okay.
It's a state formula.
Right, but if we-
So it's not like we do that. We don't
Right,
take
so if
those
we
dollars.
increase this millage that you guys keep talking about, wouldn't that raise Jacksonville's? So wouldn't then we bump up that little bit more in the state to help?
Yeah, go ahead.
How are you tonight? The interesting thing is, the city council, along with the mayor, we set the millage rate for city government, for city services, and so forth. The school board, however, they have no control over their millage rate. The state sets their millage rate. So they're separate. It's frustrating to be a school board member because if they need additional dollars, it's out of their control. Their millage rate is set by the state. They get sales tax dollars. Their superintendent has to take the money that's allotted to them by the state and divvy it up the best they can. And so, years ago, I'm talking about back in the 60s and maybe early 70s, actually the city council did review the school board budget. But the charter, which is the city's constitution, separated that out. So, only thing we can do is like when the state legislature was going to cut the advanced placement courses out or cut it in half, I introduced a resolution urging the legislature to keep the funding intact for AP courses, but I couldn't do anything to make them do that. So your best bet would be go to the school board meeting and let your feelings be known, but you got to also contact your legislature because they're the ones that control the school board budgets. It's a good question, and I'm a big traditional public school supporter. Now, where the city sometimes does come into play is if there's a referendum that the school board wants to put on the ballot, like the half-penny sales tax for improving schools, then that has to flow. Capital improvement, that has to flow through the council, but we're just a pass-through to make sure it gets on the ballot. But other than that, we have no connection with them. I wish we did, because I'd fight like the devil to make sure they got the money. I hope that helps some.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So it probably confuses you because I made such a big deal of our literacy programs this year. And Dr. Sarah Lynn Grass is very involved in that too through Kids Hope Alliance. So we do work on programs that we try to, for children, but it's not the same as the education of our kids in our schools. We don't have any control.
Right, I mean, like, it makes sense on the school merging law. I get it. It's just a response. And this is the next phase, the next generation that's going to carry the economy. Everything else is going to do. And you're hindering it from kindergarten start.
But see, here's the thing. If you don't, and I'm so glad you're here so you can be educated about this. If you don't let those people know how you feel, and you really don't know who's responsible for it, then when it comes time to vote, you're probably going to vote for the same people that haven't been doing what you want done, because you don't know who's responsible. So it's important that you do show up and let them know what your feelings are. And if you're, I don't know who your school board person is, but if that person isn't doing what you want, you need to make sure you're not voting for that person. If your person that's in the legislature is not voting for what you want, you need to go find yourself a better, representative. But one of the reasons that I love doing these meetings is because I think it's so important for citizens to be engaged. And if we're not engaged, then we are lost. So I'm so appreciative of the fact that you're here and you want this information and you're going to be ready to take action on it. So thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Is it time? Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you for being here. We'll do this again in a few months. But if you have any questions, certainly make sure you see one of my staff members. If you have interest in going to a meeting at City Hall or whatever, all that information is on our website at COJ, Jacksonville.gov. I know I'm now going back to what Matt said, Jacksonville.gov. So thank you very much. Appreciate you.